together this whole story is like pretty incredible, because I went down there with the Research Museum, and it was a political event too. Assemblymen and a couple of assemblymen, the leader of the Organization of African States, which, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it is, he was like the final decision maker for 64 African countries, which would make him one of the more powerful men in the world. So we went down there to get some culture going and everything, because it was really after the Civil War. I mean, the UN had taken over completely. People were still hurting. They hadn't gotten all the medical care they needed. There were things burning still. It was pretty ugly. And anyways, we went down there, and a couple of interesting things happened to me there. The first one was the U.S. Embassy was involved in all this, so you had to follow their instructions and rules, and they had guards watching me all the time, M16s, wherever I went, because at this time there was very strong PR move to only show Haiti in a good light. So we had to go in. I was going to shoot an embassy party for all the dignitaries, and a lot of dignitaries came from like Japan, Canada, to be there for photo opportunities and other reasons too. And so it was a gala affair in a place that was shot up, where food was still being brought in. It was like being on Twilight Zone, because the women were only long gowns and, you know, tuxedos. And it's tough. You walk out the gate and it's just, ugly. Anyways, I had to go through, and I had my camera bag with me, and I had a flash that was acting up. The flash that does that, what's happening to mine is a relay inside what kept telling the inside part of the flash to move, and they move on little plastic rails. But there's a clicking sound every time this happens. Well, I'm starting to go through the line. The flash starts clicking. And there are 4 very young Marines that got off of Paris Island maybe a week before. So I had to snake my hand into my bag, and I knew I had to get the batteries out of the flash, and it would stop making any noise. So, easy guys, easy, and got the batteries out, and it stopped. I said, see, it's all good, and here's the bag, it's not going to blow you up. And at that point, the Buffalo delegation got pissed off, and they said, look, we came down here to help. You shouldn't be doing this to our people. Well, then everybody got through without any trouble. It was interesting, I'll tell you that. Walking into Port-au-Prince, and we were with, the same 8, 9 guys, whatever, with the guards. And we're in Port-au-Prince, and, there's a smell of burning tires, because they have been rioting still. And me and my friend Earl McDonald, who died recently, he and I sort of did things together on impulse, we'll say. And so we let the front of the line get up to the Holiday Inn, and we slowly snuck back, and then we took off. We went down into Port-au-Prince with just me and him, and it was really interesting, because anybody there that's white, carrying maybe cameras, is somebody that has more money than you do. And so we drew, the whole 1,000 people. And So we got into a small shop, and Earl wanted to buy some cigars. And we bought some cigars. I needed some stamps to mail some letters. By this time, all alert had gone out for us. Like, where are they? And they looked out the back of the Holiday Inn. They were up a couple of floors, so it was higher. And they saw this crowd, and they, you know, they sent out soldiers and everything else because they thought, uh-oh, you know, we got another riot on our hands, and it was us. And what was great about it is they're very entrepreneurial there in the sense of when we got back to the hotel, they shorted me on stamps and they shorted Earl on cigars. So that worked out really well. This was all done in 1938, and during the major earthquake that destroyed everything, it destroyed the 100-year-old palace and everything else. This museum, because it was in the ground, didn't suffer any major damage. Here is this. I went from the Dominican Republic, where I shot for Jesse's Children, which is they do eyes and they do teeth. And it's sort of different because, you know, a lot of medical missions, you know, blood, you know, all kinds of things. But a lot of them don't deal with these particular issues. And we, you know, collect older, used glasses, take them down there, and you match the prescription, all that sort of thing. Look for cataracts. But when you went there, you had to, there was no electricity in the outer lying areas, so you had to bring generators. And service was only while it was still light out. So you would, you know, you crossed, they had a small, like, short, full-size yellow bus. And I got elected driver. So I had to drive, and we'd go through streams, and you'd have to hit it or else it would get stuck. I mean, there's all kinds of, and you get up into the mountains, and at dawn you would see suddenly 700 people waiting because they knew we were coming. And if you looked around, it was like, where did they come from? I mean, this is just like mountainous and, you know, empty and dusty, but they were all there because they knew we were coming. And the barbed wire wasn't for us, it was to keep them out because there was just so many and they all wanted service. So the whole thing, it was like a community, like what we would call you know, a community house here, was surrounded with barbed wire, no electricity, but it was, you know, a nice dead building and a roof and all that sort of thing. So we were inside so that we could take people at a reasonable speed and so on and so forth. She was watching from over here, and I saw her out of the corner of my eye. And I don't like taking photographs that are staged. That is not what is presented here. What's presented here are people in everyday life that are fun with their families. They laugh. They have great faith. This might not be an interesting story to you, but it was something I had to deal with. And I'm going to tell it anyways. In the Dominican, there is 3 like nuns from Canada. It's an order that has for years done their mission in Banai, which is it's on the other side of the island from all the casinos and all the money-making stuff and the slick stuff and the roads. And they've been, you know, it hasn't changed in the whole time they've been there pretty much because it's the poor side of town, if you want to call it that. And they were taking me around downtown, showing me all the people they work with and help. And they're on the streets just talking. And there's a HIV at that time, and probably still is, epidemic there. And she introduced me to, you know, people. And I said, well, do you mind if I take a picture? And I think people should be treated visually with dignity. So he had lost this part of his leg from HIV, and it was spread. He was, you know, he wasn't going to be around for a lot longer. And I went to take his photo, and I immediately thought, boy, this would be a perfect vertical, because it would show that light out there and make it, you know, wow. And you know, right then and there, I decided I can't do that. So instead, I never turned it vertical, kept it horizontal, took his photo, smiling, and he just said, thank you. And I knew what he was talking about. Father Macarian, and this is a photo of him in the corn that he's growing in Africa. And if you were to get past that cornfield, there wasn't anything growing. Across the street, this is across the street, this way was where he bought land with buildings and stuff to thresh beans and produce and stuff his kids would do, raise money, and feed his kids. So he talked the neighbor into selling him his piece of property because he had water. And he had to do it like over 3 years. And he got the water and sent it across and had these wonderful fields. This woman at the market, hey, I didn't force myself on her, I didn't anything. I waited for her again to sort of notice me, and I took that photo, and she's happy. She's got her baby. Their lives are simpler there. And I always said to myself, the more keys that you get on your key ring, the chances are that you will be less happy. All right, that's it. Sorry. I'm out of here.
Good.